So King David seems to carry a lot of favor with God, but at the same time, he has a very difficult life. If you look at from the point when he was still just a shepherd to the anointment where his father Jesse is asked by the prophet about his sons, but he's not brought to the fore up to the very last minute. Is when is brought. He was always last almost in everything, but God always had his back. But God having your back doesn't mean that now everything is going to be easy. No, you have to meet God halfway and help him fight in the Bible to actualize all the covenants that he's made with you. So King David seems to carry favor with God, yet at the same time has a very difficult life. That is profound. He's anointed to be king, but has to fight for the position. We would assume that since God is in his corner, he's been chosen, then his transition would be easy. But at the first instance, when he's performing at the king's banquet, or performing to the king, singing to him, the king tries to pin him on the wall with a spear. That is when the animus starts to manifest in the Bible. It's like King Saul is realizing that now this is the guy that has been anointed to replace me. And Saul himself, on the contrary, doesn't just agree that now the Spirit of the Lord has left me and I just let it be. No, he's also fighting to keep his throne, fighting that after him, his son Jonathan would take his place. That is profound. It is very profound how God just look at the affairs of men without directly intervening in the affair of men, so that our potentials manifest. So in 1 Samuel 19:11, I quote, Saul sent men to watch David's house. They stayed there all night. They are waiting to kill David in the morning, but David's wife Michal warned him. So the intention is there. And of course, what precedes this, there's a very fascinating event that precedes this when David is singing to Solomon to calm him down. And then the king tries to pin him on the wall, pin him to the wall with a spear, and David escapes. So animus is already harbored between these two guys, or especially, or it's King Saul to David, so to speak. Because if we read all through the events that unfolds forward, we realize that David had a chance to kill King Saul, but he never dared. He spared his life. Again, if we leave this aside, David's own family seems to really hate the king in a way, not really, but they are really not good. We would expect that a man that is anointed with God by God be so a center of attention to his family and be revered and respected so much. But we don't get this in the spirit of the biblical text, because at the first instance, his eldest son Amnon rapes his daughter Tamar, the sister to Absalom. But what did David do? Though he was infuriated, he never acted on that sin. He never adjudicated judgment. He never passed judgment. And this hurt Absalom. Now, Absalom took it upon him himself. The onus was on him, at least by his perception, to now execute judgment in order to restore his sister's honor. So Absalom organized a banquet where he called all the king's sons, and then went ahead and killed Absalom. This we find in 2 Samuel 13, the specific story in 28 to about 29. Absalom ordered his men. Listen, he said, when Amnon is in high spirits, from drinking wine, and I say to you, strike Amnon down, then kill him. Don't be afraid. Haven't I given you this order? He asked. Be strong and brave. So Absalom's men did to Amnon what Absalom had ordered. Then all the king's sons got up and mounted their mules and fled. End quote. So not only did Absalom stop there, but he overthrew the king. He overthrew and tried to kill King David at a point in time. And this we find in, and this is very fascinating, since David had the opportunity again to kill his son through his generals, but he refused to give such an order. If anything, he gave a contrary order that his generals spare the young man Absalom. Then thirdly, King David, who God describes as a man after his own heart, falls in the sin of desire. You would assume that God is perfect, and any man that has been ordained by God to serve a purpose would be blameless, at least from our point of view as human beings. But this is contrary to what the character of David highlights. It says in 2 Samuel 11:4, I quote, "Then David sent messengers to get her. She came and he slept with her. Then she went back home. The woman conceived and sent word to King David, saying, I am pregnant." Now, not only did the king sleep with her, but she got her pregnant. And as if that was not enough, he went ahead and killed her husband. So much for being a man after God's heart. Now, this we find in 2 Samuel 11:14-15. I quote, in the morning, David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it with Uriah. In it he wrote, "Put Uriah in front where the fighting is fiercest. Then withdraw from him, so he'll be struck down and die." So David was very much complicit, and to make matters worse, he dragged his loyal generals into the complicity in the murder of his loyal soldier, Uriah the Hittite. This is not right. So the question is, despite the iniquities, why does God find David to be a man after his own heart? That is a very heavy comment, or something that is profound to note. One, David has a repentant heart. He's always seeking to please God. Yes, you might be falling, but what matters more is how quick and how you stand up. There are people who, once they fall, they remain down. But David falls and he comes up, especially after realizing where he has erred. You remember when the prophet Nathan, I think, went to tell him about a rich man who has many sheep, but opts to take up one man's one sheep and kill it for a banquet to feed his own visitors. And then David says that the poor man, the rich man, should be killed. And then Nathan tells him that, servant of God, you are the man because you take Uriah's wife, yet you had the opportunity, or you have many wives. And David was so repentant. And David is also loving. That is a very a positive trait. He beseeches Joab not to kill his son Absalom. Above all that his son had done to him, he still has that heart and that feeling that this young man should not be killed. I guess that is at that point, he realizes that he should now talk to the man and administer some form of justice, or ask him for forgiveness, since he did not pass justice or judgment at the first time his eldest son made the mistake of raping the daughter, the sister to Absalom. The humility of David is highlighted when the prophet Nathan comes to tell him about what he had done. But I don't want to belabor the point. I've explained this before. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is why David is a man after God's heart, and we should all aspire to attain that standard. Not being oblivious, not highlight so much of our sins, but highlighting how much we come from our sin and progress from then forward. Thank you.